The House will come to order. Members will be at their seats. The clerk has opened the roll and you may record your presence. Please rise and give your attention to the House chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Representative Bryce.
Good morning, my friends. Allow me to pray for you. Dear Father, you are a great and gracious God. You love when your children are unlovable and forgive when they fail to love in return. You bless when blessings are ignored or taken for granted and continue to extend yourself. Thank you for your infinite patience. Today, I lift each of these elected representatives to you and ask for your favor to rest upon them. This very moment, some may be wrestling with personal issues that go far beyond the political moment. Would you permit them to find solutions to those issues and in the finding, discover peace of heart and mind? You have said in your word, I permitted myself to be sought by those who did not ask for me. I permitted myself to be found by those who did not seek me. I said, here am I, to a nation which did not call upon my name. Oh God, I pray that even though at times you are not called upon or acknowledged, you would intervene and provide answers to the difficult questions and situations which are being presented to our state, as well as our nation as a whole. I pray your blessings to rest upon the people of Kansas and their families. I pray they would seek you for any problems or difficulties they are experiencing. And I pray for our schools in this great state who continue to be a bastion of truth and integrity as they prepare the next generation to meet the challenges they will surely meet. And Father, bless the teachers of these institutions of learning. Let them never forget they are some of the most influential leaders their students will ever meet. And now, Father, I pray that you might bless this session with your wisdom, understanding, and peace. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have all the members had an opportunity to record their presence? The clerk will close the roll and record the attendance. I would like to welcome back Representative Vickery. He is over here along the south wall. Welcome back to the chamber. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 2797 by the Committee on Taxation, requested by Representative Hoheisel on behalf of AMC Theaters. An act concerning income taxation relating to credits, providing for full transferability of tax credits of investments in certain qualified business facilities. House Bill 2798 by the Committee on Taxation, requested by Eric Stafford on behalf of the Kansas Chamber of Commerce. An act concerning taxation relating to income and privilege taxes, providing for the apportionment of business income by the single sales factor and the apportionment of financial institution income by the receipts factor, establishing for deductions from income when using the single sales factor and receipts factor, providing for the decrease in corporate income tax rates. House Bill 2799 by Committee on Appropriations, requested by Representative Waymaster on behalf of the City of Russell. An act concerning roads and highways designating a portion of the United States Highway 281 in Russell County as the First Responders Memorial Highway, redesignating a portion of the American Legion Memorial Highway.
House Bill 2791 is withdrawn from the Committee on Health and Human Services and referred to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 2792 is withdrawn from the Committee on Health and Human Services and referred to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 2381 is withdrawn from the Committee on Judiciary and referred to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 2632 appears on the consent calendar for the second day. Is there objection? Seeing none, it will remain on the consent calendar for the third day. The Speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of considering those items under the heading of general orders.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. The Speaker appoints Representative Hoheisel to chair the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Bobby. It's a great day to be a Kansan. It is not a great day per usual to live in San Francisco. So let's go ahead and get started today. The first item of business today is HB 2583. For the purpose of carrying HB 2583, the chair recognizes Representative Turk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were committee amendments, and I move for approval of the committee report.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
House Bill 2583 comes to the floor today from the Corrections and Juvenile Justice Committee. For me personally, this is a great honor to carry this bill today. For those that have had time to read through the bill, you can feel its gravity and its effects on many of us. Let me quickly read a brief of the bill. House Bill 2583, as amended, would increase the penalties for inflicting harm that results in disability or death to certain dogs and horses, broaden the definition of inflicting harm to such animals to include police horses, create a separate offense for harm that does not result in the disability or death, and specify restitution for such crimes. Current law defines inflicting harm, disability, or death to specified law enforcement and assistance dogs as knowingly and without lawful cause or jurisdiction or justification, poisoning, inflicting great bodily harm, permanent disability, or death. Correction, it does not include the assistance dogs. The bill would add police horses to the specified animals and would increase penalties for inflicting harm resulting in disability or death. To be specified to the specified law enforcement animals, the crime classification would be raised from a non-grid, non-person felony to a severity level 4 non-person felony. The definition of restitution in this bill would provide restitution for the aforementioned crimes, the costs of veterinary medical treatment, reasonable funeral and burial expenses, replacement costs for the police dog, arson dog, game warden dog, search and rescue dog, police horse, and those include training, personal expenses, and costs associated with boarding an animal during training. The committee heard proponent testimony by the representatives of the Kansas Association of Chiefs of Police, the Kansas Sheriff's Association, and 2 representatives of the Kansas State Lodge Fraternal Order of Police. The proponents, in essence, stated that these animals cost tens of thousands of dollars to purchase, train, and these animals are not only tools, they are considered family. No other testimony was provided. And let me, on a personal note here, in my service, I had the privilege and honor of working alongside military working dogs, both in a military and a law enforcement capacity. I cannot emphasize enough how crucial these animals were in the protection and security of the people to the left and right of me. These dogs kept me safe day in and day out. They weren't just animals. So, colleagues, with that being said, I want to highlight that these animals are of great import to the protection and security of our citizens, and that's evident every single day. And I feel like it is our duty to increase protections for these continued service animals. And with that, Mr. Chair, I would stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? Chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of HB 2583. I appreciate the representative's explanation of this legislation. I want to personally thank both the Speaker and the Chair of the Corrections and Juvenile Justice Committee for bringing this good bill to us. I hope that the amendments that we accomplished in the Corrections and Juvenile Justice Committee made a good bill better. And so I ask you to join me in supporting HB 2583. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to step up very quickly. Many of you only recognize the canine aspect. Here in Kansas, we still operate many mounted patrol units across the state. I was very fortunate to spend almost 20 years of my career on a part-time basis with the mounted patrol unit in Wyandotte County. It was great. Unfortunately, I cannot have a prop up here today to show me on my Clydesdale. But if you would walk by my desk, there actually is a picture there. And I looked in the rules, and that's not illegal to put on my desk, but it is there. Support this bill. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Carr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Although I recognize the importance of the animals that serve with our police departments and with our military, and certainly with those special forces that do things like bomb sniffing and things of that nature. Unfortunately, I won't be able to support this bill in its current form. The police dogs and those people that look like me have somewhat of a storied history with those police animals. When I think of particularly the German Shepherd, the picture that always comes to mind is how the police had released those dogs on those people that looked like me for doing nothing more than peaceful protest. I know that this was somewhat of a knee-jerk reaction to the unfortunate thing that took place with the loss of the animal that was sent down the hole or the cavern to retrieve an assailant. But what did we really expect? At some point, we have to make we have to ask the hard questions and make those difficult answers. Where was the culpability of that officer? What did we think would happen? What would you do if an armed assailant came at you? Would you stand there and be beaten? Probably not. You would defend yourself. I would venture to say that that dog was incapable of having a conversation with that individual or asking that individual to simply come out peacefully. So that officer, you know, and as much as we hate to look at it this way, that officer put his partner in a very difficult situation. I don't think that there's any one of us here who would sit idly by and let an animal maul you without fighting back. I don't think he could have reasoned with the animal. No one called the animal off. I think that this is, a bit harsh, and I wonder about the constitutionality of it. When they sent that animal in with no trainer, if I'm not mistaken, there had been no trial. There had been no conviction. That individual was innocent until proven guilty. I know this is a difficult situation. It's a difficult vote. But for me and the history of those police dogs and knowing what has happened with them and my people in the past when it certainly wasn't deserved, I could just imagine if they had released those police dogs on those protesters and one of them simply fought for his life, as you should. And then at the end of that, subsequently, he faces a 20-year jail sentence for only attempting to defend himself for something like a peaceful protest. And let's not say that it doesn't happen today. I'm sure many of you saw the videotape of the young man that was on a highway in an 18-wheeler, and he failed to exit the vehicle in a timely fashion. And with several officers watching, one of the officers released the animal, and the animal mauled that man. He continued and continued and continued time after time to attempt to remove the animal, but the animal would not be removed. And that was just for a speeding ticket. Now, should that young man have fought for his life? Yes, yes. That animal who has been duly trained, if the trainer wasn't able to get to that animal and physically remove that animal, that young man might have died or certainly been injured worse than he was. So with that, I can't support this bill. I think I think there does need to be some legislation putting harsher penalties on those cases that warrant it, but just to go blindly and not have thought this completely through, I can't support that. And I would urge you to not support it with me until we come back with a bill that is a little better suited for this purpose. Thank you.
The chair recognizes for a second time Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I listened with concern to the remarks of my colleague from Wichita. There is, in fact, a long history of police dogs in circumstances very different than what causes us to bring this legislation. But I hope that my friend from Wichita will take the time to watch and listen to the testimony that we received in the House Corrections and Juvenile Justice Committee and see if, after having heard what happened in my community, he stands by his words regarding that circumstance. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair recognizes Representative Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to reference, we have 583 bills right now. This is 583. And let me ask the carrier of the bill a question, please. Is this bill, we've heard it, does this bill protect police dogs and police horses? Yes or no? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to this bill, but we've had multiple pro-life bills to protect the unborn. And how many of those have we heard on the House floor? That's my indignation. Babies should be more of a priority protect them in the womb than dogs and horses right now. I'm not opposed to this. But if we're a pro-life industry, then that's what we need to be. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no further discussion, Representative Turk, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports HB 2583 favorable for passage as amended.
You've heard a motion by Representative Turk to report HB 2583 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. They do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2168. For the purpose of carrying HB 2168, the chair recognizes Representative Fairchild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor by signifying by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Sub for HB 2168 would place a $500 cap on hemp license and registration fee amounts under the Kansas Department of Agriculture Industrial Hemp Program. Currently, there is no cap on hemp license fees and hemp registration fees are capped at $1,000. Basically, what the point of this is to try to encourage people to grow industrial hemp, encourage more acres of industrial hemp to be planted. Over the last several years since this program started, we've seen a decrease in the number of industrial hemp acres planted. So we're just trying to encourage people to plant more acres of it. And we're trying to reduce the fees down to be more around what other states are doing. If we were to reduce the fees down to $500, which is what this bill does, we would still probably be higher than quite a few other states, but we'd at least be more in line with other states than where the fees are currently at. This morning, I actually learned that for the license fees, it's actually right now at around $1,500 to $1,700 per field, unless the fields are actually attached to each other. And so you have hemp growers, if their fields are all scattered out, who are paying $1,500 to $1,700 for a license per field, and that gets extremely expensive. And it kind of shows you why so few people are growing industrial hemp when it costs that much for a license fee. And I think this bill is basically just a step in the right direction. I'd like to eliminate a lot of the regulations too. And that's basically what we did in the original version of this bill. And this is just this is a substitute bill that only reduces the fees. The original bill did quite a bit more. A couple of notes on this bill is that the fiscal note really doesn't matter because the fiscal note was for the original bill, not for the substitute bill. There is no updated fiscal note. The original fiscal note had a cost of several $100,000, and it also had over 4 FTEs. And so since all this is doing is reducing the fees, there won't be any FTEs in this bill or any cost of this bill. The only fiscal effect could possibly be a possible reduction of fees. However, if we're able to expand and have more industrial hemp growers and more acres, it's possible that we could actually have a increase in fees as well, or increase of revenue. In addition, there was quite a bit of opponent testimony to the original bill. However, I would just emphasize that was the original bill and not the substitute bill. In the original bill, there was reductions in some of the fingerprinting requirements, and some of the law enforcement agencies had a problem with that and testified against it for that reason, testified against the original bill. And then there was also a provision in the original bill which allowed industrial hemp to be used to feed animals. And so a lot of the agriculture groups testified against the original bill for that reason. However, I would just emphasize again that none of those things are in this current bill. The substitute bill, all it does is simply reduce the fees for industrial hemp. And so I believe that all of these groups and individuals who testified against the original bill, I don't believe that those groups and individuals would have any problem with this substitute bill, since all this substitute bill is doing is simply reducing the fees for industrial hemp. I'll stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Blue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bonnie, in 2021, we had a hemp tour in Barton County and it was very, very successful. We had over 60 folks in attendance for it at the time the Attorney General came and some folks who even were interested in possibly growing hemp. And so it was great to have legislators and folks from all over the place to come and look and see what is this crop. And we passed this bill previously, but a lot of people didn't know what the actual hemp crop looked like. And so it was great to see that there is the CBD side, but there's also the industrial hemp side. And so I just want to emphasis of this, the bill, the original bill was some of the concerns that were addressed at the hemp tour. But we went ahead and I want to thank the chairman of Ag for finding a compromise. And the first thing that we can do is lower the fees for those who want to become hemp producers to have a lower fee and they can get into the field and start planting these crops. It's something that they're starting really small. It's not like corn where you're planting multiple acres. It's something you got to learn along the process. So I just want to say thank you for all of this and I look forward to what else we can come up with to get rid of some more red tape on industrial hemp, but this is a great start and I hope that you support it.
Chair recognizes Representative Carlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And you've had a good explanation of the bill. And Representative Fairchild did a wonderful explanation of all of the elements of the bill and the trials and tribulations that we went through. One of the things that we did take out of the original bill was using it for animal feed. And we learned that that was not safe. At this point, the FDA doesn't recognize that as safe, so we took that out. But we did a good job on this bill, and I appreciate your support.
Chair recognizes Representative Christy Williams.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. There are three very good reasons that we should support this bill. First of all, it is our regulatory environment in Kansas that is hurting our farmers. In fact, if we look at our neighbors just to our east, then we find that they have fees of $35 for 3 years. Ours were over $1,400 for a not contiguous piece of property. So that's number one. We need to be more competitive as a state and reduce regulation for our farmers. That's one reason to vote in favor of this. The second reason is it's a growing industry. There was about $4.6 billion spent in industrial hemp in 2019, and that is growing or projected to grow to over $26 billion by 2026. That's something, a market we want to open to Kansas farmers. And finally, the last reason, it's to hopefully increase and encourage investment in Kansas. More farmers will be able to take that risk to create opportunity for economic growth in Kansas. So I would encourage everyone to support this bill. Thank you.
There is no further discussion. Representative Fairchild, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that when the committee rises to report, the report substitute for HB 2168 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Fairchild to report HB 2168 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes appear to have it. They do have it. Motion passes. Next item of business is HB 2477. For the purpose of carrying HB 2477, the chair recognizes Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, colleagues. There were no amendments on House Bill 2477. I move the adoption of the report.
If there are no amendments, you can just continue, Representative.
You are correct. Sorry, first one of the year. First bill jitters. House Bill 2477 amends the Agricultural Chemical Remediation Fund. This does increase the amount of reimbursement that eligible facilities can receive from the Agriculture Chemical Remediation Fund and clean up nitrates and pesticides from our soil, groundwater, and so on from their facilities. Now, since 2002, the fund has provided financial reimbursement for expenses incurred from cleaning up ag facilities. This program has been strongly supported by Kansas agribusinesses, as well as farmers who are eligible to apply for that reimbursement. Now, these proposed changes would increase the maximum amount that a facility can be reimbursed from $200,000, it's currently up to $300,000. Now, this bill is necessary as remediation costs have increased greatly, as most costs have over the last 20 years. This program, entirely funded by the Kansas agribusiness industry, receives no state general funds. This fund currently has a balance of around $1 million, and this bill does not increase fees. No opponents for this bill, but many of the agribusinesses supported and testified in favor, as well as the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. I stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative. I do remember carrying my first bill as well. Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Carlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I stand in support of this legislation to keep our pesticides and nitrates out of our groundwater. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, Representative Rogers, if you're able to, you may close.
Tough crowd. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm using my cheat sheet from 9 years ago when I did carry my first bill, so obviously there were some errors. Mr. Chairman, I move that when the committee rises and reports House Bill 2477 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Rogers to report HB 2477 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes appear to have it. They do have it. Motion passes. The next item of business is HB 2525. For the purpose of carrying HB 2525, the chair recognizes Representative White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues. There were committee amendments. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
House Bill 2525 requires the Secretary of Health and Environment to adopt rules and regulations to establish fees for the permitting, monitoring, testing, inspecting, and regulating of underground injection control wells, the permitting and regulating of water well contractors, and the permitting and regulating of water supply systems and wastewater treatment facilities. Fees collected will be directed to the Water Management Fund to be used for administration of licensing and regulation. The committee amendment clarifies language concerning home septic systems. Proponents include the Bureau of Water, KDHE, and One Oak. There were no neutral and no opposition. Mr. Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports.
Representative, we're going to go to questions first. If
Stand
anybody
for
wants to speak
questions.
up.
Excuse me.
Absolutely.
It is also my first time, second time.
Representative, you have an excuse, unlike the past representative. Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Carlin.
You guys missed it. Should have had him on this one. I stand in support of this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no further discussion, Representative White, you may close.
Mr. Chair, I move that when the committee rises and reports, report House Bill 2525 favorably for passage.
You've all heard the motion by Representative White to report HB 2525 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. They do have it. Motion passes. This concludes our general orders. The chair recognizes the majority leader. Somewhere.
Mr. Chairman, I move we rise and report.
You've heard the motion to rise and report. All in favor, aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes.
The clerk will read the committee report.
Mr. Speaker, your committee of the whole recommends that House Bill 2477 be passed and that House Bills 2583 substitute House Bill 2168 and House Bill 2125 be passed as amended.
The Speaker recognizes Representative Hoheisel to adopt the committee of the whole report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move adoption of the committee of the whole report.
You've all heard the motion to adopt the committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee on Welfare Reform recommends House Bill 2627 be passed. Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends House Bill 2353 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends House Bill 2656 be passed. Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends House Bill 2487 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Local Government recommends House Bill 2661 be passed. Committee on Local Government recommends House Bill 2587 be passed. Committee on Insurance recommends House Bill 2663 be passed. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2623 be passed. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2761 be passed. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2760 be passed. And because the committee is of the opinion that the bill is of a non-controversial nature, be placed on the consent calendar. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2624 be passed. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2625 be passed. Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development recommends House Bill 2724 be passed. The Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development recommends HB 2725 be passed.
Is there any objection to returning to that order of business, introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions? Seeing none, the clerk will read.
House Bill 2800 by the Committee on Appropriations requested by Representative Hoffman. An act concerning conservation districts relating to the financing and operating conservation districts, increasing the cap on the amount of monies dispersed by the Division of Conservation to conservation districts, providing an increased matching basis for state monies dispersed to conservation districts based on amounts allocated by the Board of County Commissioner for such districts.
The following committee appointments are requested and effective immediately. Representative Haswood replaces Representative Hoy as the ranking member on the House Federal and State Affairs Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Haskins replaces Representative Heiberger on the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Vic Miller replaces Representative Heiberger on the House Judiciary Committee from February 15th until February 24th, 2024. Representative Carr replaces Representative Woodard on the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Sawyer Clayton replaces Representative Vaughn on the House Health and Human Services Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Wynn replaces Representative Owsley on the House Appropriations Committee on February 14th, 2024. Representative Susan Ruiz replaces Representative Ballard on the House Appropriations Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Vic Miller replaces Representative Hoy on the House Federal and State Affairs Committee on Wednesday, February 14th, 2024. Representative Martinez replaces Representative Schlingensiepen on the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee for the remainder of the week. Representative Howerton will replace Representative Donahoe on the House Committee on Education on February 13th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on February 13th. Are there any further announcements? The Speaker recognizes Representative Resman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to make the body aware that I just heard this morning, and apparently last night the news came out that former Representative Mike Kegel had passed away on February 1st. Services are this Friday at 11 a.m. at St. Paul's Church in Olathe. Please keep him in your prayers. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democrats will have agenda tomorrow morning, 8:30, 152 South. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Riley.
Thank you, Speaker Pro Tem. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have a discussion about what happens to Daniel in the lion's den. Could be very interesting turn of events on this. And that's in room 142 South, 7 a.m. in the morning. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Oropeza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. I just want to let the Wyandotte County Leavenworth delegation know we will be having our luncheon today, and our host is Capen. Thank you.
Seeing no further announcements, the Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until Wednesday, February 14th at 11 a.m.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.